Hi guys, I am Crystal Sky, and today we're going to talk about a little strange thing from Ohuhu. So you guys know how much I love Ohuhu markers. I have my big pouch here of Ohuhu markers. I love them a whole bunch. And I decided to buy, this was less than $10. I decided to buy the Ohuhu brush pocket pen. It's a pocket pen knockoff. And this is the box that it comes in. It comes with a converter, which I have placed where the pen was. The converter was in the pen, and 3 cartridges, one of which is in the pen currently. It's a brush pen. Oh, this is there we go. Don't want to hurt myself with that box. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice packaging, honestly, but it is starting to get banged up, even though I've barely moved it at all, so I wouldn't really keep my pen in there. Let's talk about the directions. So this looks pretty nice. You know, there's some directions here, and it shows the bristle and stuff like that. Do not twist, stuff like that. What is this, Ohuhu? The uses instructions are nearly unreadable. You can't even read them because of they printed over them like multiple times. Try to define what directions are, Ohuhu. This is awful. This is a bad printing error. Look, even the line doesn't go with the instructions. So I had a really hard time trying to figure out how to put these converters in. But for any of you who want to get one of these pens, you put the converter in with the black end up. So this end is up, this end is into the pen. You're going to have to push really, really, really hard into the pen. I had to use both fingers like this into the pen to get it in there. You have to push it really hard. Make sure the black end's up, not being pushed into the pen. And it's really tough to put the pen in, put the cartridge in there. But it worked eventually. And what they want you to do when you put the cartridge in there is to shake it. Your nib will be white. The cap can go on the back of the pen. These directions are awful. Oh gosh, I knocked over. Stay. Okay. We're going to do some inking here. Just some base inking to show you guys the bristle of the nib. Now you can actually see my brush pen is actually slightly slanted to one side. It is slanted to one side. I'm not sure why it was like that when I got it. And with the gentle shaking, it just kind of moved everything over. The cartridge is fairly nice. But as you can see, there is some clotting with the brush pen. I haven't used this in, I'd say since yesterday. I haven't used this since yesterday. And as you can see, there is some clotting and some running here. It goes over colored pencil pretty nice. And it's not waterproof, and I don't think it's alcohol proof, but let me check with you guys. So you can get pretty thin lines. That's about as thin lines as you can get. You can get very thick lines. The pen and the brush is very juicy. In my opinion, you can get some pretty crazy lines here. In my opinion, the pen feels heavy. It feels good. The pen feels good to use. The brush tip has already frayed. I've had this for barely a week, and the brush tip has already frayed, and I barely used it. So the brush tip does fray pretty often. Now I have some. I know that it is not waterproof because I used it with watercolors earlier, but let's try it with some Ohuhu markers. Right, Ohuhu art markers. The hair is pretty much dry, so we're just going to go over on top of that and take a look. Oh, nope, it's bleeding. Yep. Yeah, see all that bleed? It's definitely bleeding, so it doesn't work with the art markers. Now, I haven't let it dry for a really long time, actually. The wet parts are smudging on my finger, but, you know, that's fine. So, when it's wet, you can't just ink and then go in and let it dry. I will probably try it in a little bit. We'll see. As I said, I do get some clotting with this pen if I don't go really thin, which is a shame because I like it. I like the feel of the pen. I'm not the best with brush tips, with brush markers. As you can see, my hand shakes. So when I ink, I usually choose a Copic multi-liner or a Pigma over over a brush tip. But I like the way it feels. It is very, very juicy. Some people might actually find that annoying, because it just pulls and pulls and pulls all on this paper. Let's see, does it go through this paper? Does it not? Does not go through this paper. This is a Canson Mixed Media pad. Canson Mixed Media. One of my favorite little sketchbooks. Just picked this up. So as I said, it's not waterproof. So does indeed go over. Now you can see here, if you look really closely at that line, some of it has grayed because it's not as juicy. And that happens sometimes with the pen, and I have to go over it, and that doesn't seem to fix it. I'm not sure why. It's pretty juicy when I lay it down, but for some reason it just says that. The first face that we did is still wet. That's just how juicy the line is. I can see why it would be more indicative to thin strokes with barely any juice on it. That would probably be what I would do with this pen. And I do like it, honestly. Feels nice to work with. Now, I prefer the Sakura Micron brush pen. That is my favorite brush pen, and I prefer it. But this is cheaper, and you can put cartridges in it, unlike the Sakura Micron brush pen, where you throw it out and you get a new one. So those are my thoughts. It's not waterproof. It's not alcohol proof. It goes over colored pencil pretty well, and the line variation is pretty good. You can get a lot of line variation, and I do have to say a couple of bad things about it. For the price, I agree, it's very good. It feels heavy. But the brush tip could be used a bit better. It is a brush tip, as you can see here. It fans out just like a brush. But it feels like a brush tip. It might be felt. I'd have to re-look. But it is already frayed, as you can see. The brush tip is already frayed, and I've been very careful with it, so. Does fray just like the ohuhu markers. The ohuhu tips do fray pretty well. This is a bullet tip, but as you can see, it's already frayed a little bit. So that's it. If you would like to pick this up, I picked this up on Amazon. I would say it's worth the money. If you want to try a brush pen out and you've never tried it before, it's refillable. You can put your own ink in it. And it's heavy, and it generally feels very weighty for the price, which is $10. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys later.